And then with my daughter, Michaela, I've started this Peterson Academy, and our plan, this is a funny plan, we want to drive the cost of a bachelor's degree down to $4,000. You'll be damn fortunate if we can provide you with a list of people who've graduated, and if you had any sense, you'll employ them preferentially because we did the rigorous screening work. I know how to do the rigorous screening work because I studied that for like 25 years. A degree from our university will signify high-level conscientiousness and general cognitive ability, and those are very valuable for any employer with a clue. So I think we can just skip the accreditation process and go right to the employers. All right, what the hell is this YouTube? What I want to have happen from this talk is that I make more money. Breasts, 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 breasts. And second, come. That doesn't exist, by the way. It's a serious disease. Universities have figured out how to conspire in some sense to pick the future pockets of the students that they're purporting to educate, and they're not educating them, they're indoctrinating them, they're not teaching them how to speak, they're not teaching them how to debate, they're not teaching them how to write, they're not introducing them to the classical wisdom of the Western Judeo-Christian tradition.
Are you tired of having your qualifications taken seriously? Fed up of all your professors being blue-haired SJWs and card-carrying members of the wokerati? Are you sick of having a physical degree that will allow you to demonstrate your years of hard work you've put in, and would rather have a useless acknowledgement that you paid a right-wing grifter to say you graduated from their made-up university that's clearly a scam? Then why not come down to Peterson Academy, an online university with absolutely no accreditation? That means that no matter how much you pay into it, you won't be able to use it to get a job anywhere. And everyone will now think you're a huge rube who'll pay actual real money to have fascist Kermit the Frog cry in front of you because he thinks China is milking people's sperm or something. But that's okay, because our Lord and Saviour, Jordan Peterson, insists that graduating from his as-yet unestablished fake university will get you preferential treatment because of Peterson's famously rigorous screening work. He literally said this. Together, though, you and Dr. Peterson and his daughter, who has fewer qualifications, but ignore that for now, can take down the woke university sector and at long last get revenge for them kicking you, I mean him, out for neglecting all of his academic duties in favour of shitting his pants on TV about the idea of a trans man getting his breasts removed. Up yours, woke universities. We'll see who bankrupts who. Yes, that's right. Jordan Peterson is back again. Not content with having put himself in a coma from a fine cocktail of benzos, a meat-only diet, and a singular glass of apple cider, not satisfied with his new suspiciously Batman villain-esque drip and his platform on right-wing slot regurgitator The Daily Wire, Jordan Peterson, newly unaccredited academic and all-around unlikable doofus, has teamed up with his daughter, the only person on Earth with fewer qualifications than her dad since he got disbarred, and the nepo baby to rule them all, to launch Peterson Academy, the online university that won't give you degrees or promise anything, except that everyone will know that if you graduated, you had famously unrenowned Muppet Jordan Peterson's personal approval. Think of all the opportunities this could get you, from interning at your local right-wing talk show to running for your local fascist party, or even being the least matched person on Tinder in your local area. Watch out, ladies. A Jordan Peterson fan is here. One can only imagine what amazing topics Peterson plans to teach this very real and very fake university, but whatever they are, they're sure to be worth more than this piece of shit PhD I spent years getting the bachelor's and the master's degree to qualify for before becoming mentally broke and forever trying to finish this damn thing then. Yeah, I guess I won't need needing that anymore. Let me just throw that out.
Say goodbye to Exodia!
PhD!
But as that recently yeeted piece of paper demonstrates, I, Bridget Empire, science and culture correspondent for the very real and very fake newspaper The Daily Telegraph, am a qualified, and yes, for my sins, published academic myself, so of all the people that spend their every waking day writing about right-wing ghouls online for a whole £3 worth of YouTube ad money per year, I'm one of the roughly 95,000 of them who are qualified to talk about this. So, as a failed academic, and of course in my capacity as science and culture correspondent for the only newspaper in Britain that predates the founding of Oxford and Cambridge universities, Dan had to go to a monastery to get his qualifications for this job, I'm going to look into Jordan Peterson's very cool and very normal online learning establishment. Is it more Open University or Trump University? And why should you definitely not attend or give the most normal man in Canada over here any more attention? Got it? Good. Let's go back to school together.
Up yours, woke moralists.
we'll see who cancels who.
If you haven't been keeping up with Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, the psychologist turned self-help guru turned word vomit enthusiast, has recently been in hot water with the College of Psychologists, who threatened to take his clinical license away for its unprofessionalism, and became a viral sensation yet again when he was suspended on Twitter in 2022, pre-Elon fucking the whole place up until it stinks worse than the inside of a sewer rat, for dead-naming actor Elliot Page and calling the doctor who performed his top surgery a criminal physician. The 12 Rules for Life author, who unfortunately still finds his work selling in every place that sells books, including my local post office and every other post office in this goddamn country, despite basically being the answer to the question of what if Kermit the Frog smoked 60 cigarettes a day and took way too much cocaine, became more online than ever after this incident, in which he lamented the loss of a pair of boobs that he was destined to never see in the first place by making libelous claims about a ton of medical professionals, which, to be honest, is kind of par for the course for this guy. After all, he did make his career by making shit up about the Canadian government being ready to any second to send him to maple syrup Guantanamo Bay for refusing to use the right pronouns for transgender students. And the only reason he has any degree of notoriety is that apparently a bunch of 13-year-olds thought that a book telling them to clean their room was profound, despite their mums having been telling them that for over a decade. A lot of Peterson's career has this same flavour to it, however, a sort of anti-bedtime action, baby's first grievance, that sort of shtick. He's horrified that trans people exist, that art isn't what he expects it to be, that he can't see the titties of random people he's never met, and that his job as a psychologist requires him to do actual psychology instead of, whatever it was this is.
Exactly. So my question is the physician really criminal? If you agree that adults can decide to transition, then why would the physician be criminal? Don't adults have that right if they want to transition?
Not everything legal isn't criminal.
I'm not against taking a stand against being told what to do, but you can't really be surprised when you get turfed out of your job providing clinical services, when you're skipping out on being in the clinic for your patients so you can cry at the idea of one less side boob in the world on Fox and Friends. Since being reinstated to the worst website since your high school boyfriend's band's MySpace page, Peterson has come out swinging, reminding everyone just how brain-broken he is, by denying the climate crisis, whining about his medical license being potentially revoked just because he didn't do any of the requirements he needed to do to keep it, and posting media of himself slowly turning into Two-Face from Batman but without the swagger. In the last couple of months, he's gotten into a frankly amazing to watch pattern of posting tweets frothing with rage at woke culture in formats that make it look like he's trying and failing to write a book of racist haikus. For example, how many Canadians will be dragged to tolerance camp before we stop welcoming the draggers, posted with a South Park video attached for maximum cringe. We can only assume that, with the quality of this material, that the one class being taught at Peterson Academy that's not how to be fired from your job as a clinical psychologist will be slam poetry. And honestly, I love that for the right. These guys need hobbies. If nothing else, it'll stop them doing hate crimes when they're all stuck in dingy basements clicking away at Jared from Cumstain Nova Scotia reading a sonnet about wanting to fuck his stepmom. The fringe of the fringe devours the center and the fringe, always and inevitably. Always and inevitably. See, this stuff is fire. Clearly this is the kind of material that the HR team at your next job will see next to your CV after you've graduated from Peterson Academy and hire you on the spot. Snow White will die so deservedly at the box office. Bam! Media studies degree? Don't need it. Not when I got this blistering analysis, baby. You're not black, and you're not Asian. What's left? Caucasian. It's not that difficult. And I didn't call you white. Not that I care, and I pointed out that your true color is tan, which it is, more or less like mine. And your idiot, a white man comment, implying that I have no right to notice whatever the hell your color is not the least bit intimidating or damning, as far as I'm concerned.
That's an awfully hot coffee pot.
This rejected Eminem verse is in reply to Mehdi Hassan, after Jordan Peterson called him white. And while I know a lot of liberals and self-described moderates like to consider themselves colorblind, I didn't realize that in Jordan Peterson's case he means it literally. With perception like this, imagine the things he could teach you. Imagine the cafeteria meals. Steak, bacon, chicken, not a single vegetable in sight. Imagine the poetry classes. Oh, go on then. I suppose I'll actually talk about Peterson Academy and what it will actually be like beyond its founder live tweeting his descendant and becoming the world's lamest supervillain.
Rat is this. The rats are all like this. The rat goes like this. So the rat's like this. The normal rat is like this.
Those of you who are as chronically online as I am may have already checked out the video of Jordan and Michaela Peterson discussing the reasons behind creating Peterson Academy. If you haven't, feast your eyes on this.
I got a psychology professor tell me rats weren't social creatures because they lived in cages. Literally that happened. It's like, what? I'm not traveling 40 minutes to go to this class. And I think it's cruel that people are told they have to go to university, they have to spend $100,000 to $200,000 to get a degree so they can get a job, otherwise they're screwed. It's just a scam, but it bothers me that people are being scammed to learn to not believe in themselves, assume that they can't fix their problems, and then hate their country, basically. It would be funny if we could blow apart the university system a little bit because it's broken because of what it did to you. Like, you were alienated out of your job, basically.
You'll be damn fortunate if we can provide you with a list of people who've graduated, and if you had any sense, you'll employ them preferentially because we did the rigorous screening work. And I know how to do the rigorous screening work because I studied that for like 25 years. A degree from our university will signify high-level conscientiousness and general cognitive ability, and those are very valuable for any employer with a clue. So I think we can just skip the accreditation process and go right to the employers.
We are planning a soft launch in November, and we might be able to change the education system. That's funny. It's weird.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Exactly.
That sort of funny.
That kind of funny.
Oh yeah, that kind of funny.
Now, these two have fallen for obvious grifts, having tried to push an all-meat diet a few years ago, and having basically won their way to fame by being the guy that lied about the Canadian government banning misgendering and being that guy's daughter. Truly, these are the Kardashians of the Canadian right, which ironically would make Jordan Peterson the Caitlyn Jenner, which personally I just find very funny. The thing is that these pseudo-universities aren't new. Diploma mills have been a thing for a while. You might remember, for example, the scandals over Trump University, a so-called educational institution where Donald Trump would apparently meet you in person and present you with your degree that turned out to be an elaborate scam to get people to pay thousands of dollars to get a picture with a cardboard cutout of the future president of the United States, back when he was still desperately trying to find a business that wouldn't shed money quicker than his fake tan and a set of fresh hotel sheets. If Peterson Academy is, as stated by the launch announcement itself, going to forego any accreditation process, it will basically be the same thing, pumping out qualifications no one will accept for doing nothing anyone thinks is worth the money its students have been throwing at it. The key part of this is that if you're not going to be accredited, no matter what you're teaching or whose name is attached to it, any degree you can get from such an institution is going to be considered illegitimate. Now, you can be supported by a scam on top of a scam to make your diploma mill seem legit. This is a thing we call an accreditation mill on top of the diploma mill. But the accreditation in this case will not be recognised by the vast majority of people or institutions, and will only pass inspection if the person checking the accreditation is doing an incredibly bad job. You won't be able to get anything with a degree that's not accredited, despite what Jordan Peterson says. For all of Peterson's self-aggrandizing, he's nowhere near as famous as Trump was when Trump University launched, and if Trump's seal of approval wasn't enough to give a veneer of legitimacy to this diploma printing factory idea, Peterson's name won't even be worth the price of the paper the degree is printed on. The thing is, even regular degrees aren't worth that much anymore in the grand scheme of things. The qualifications you need for just about any job now are getting more and more competitive, despite pay and quality of life not improving to match, and inflation essentially causing these jobs to pay less than they did when you didn't even need a bachelor's degree to get them. Hell, I have a PhD, and not from Peterson Academy or Trump University, but from a British university, which, to be honest, probably has the same stench of evil as those two diploma mills I just mentioned, just with the notoriety to back it up on top of that. And even with this, I find it hard to get jobs, even after 10 years of demonstrated research experience behind my back. Now, granted, I got this PhD in paleontology, and there aren't many jobs in that, but if an advanced degree from a legitimate institution isn't enough to make getting jobs any less of a ball ache than normal, then do you really think that getting a piece of paper saying you paid $4,000 to disgraced psychologist Jordan Peterson is going to help you?
Most of you aren't foaming at the mouth, and, like, fundamentally, why?
I suppose it at least indicates that you can clean your room, but if we're giving degrees out for that now, then the right wing will have had a point when it comes to useless degrees, and I won't be having that. Who says degrees that aren't in business or applied sciences are useless? Dinosaurs are cool. Shut up. Anyway, when the right are talking about the kind of degrees they want to scrap, they usually talk about the humanities, which, if we're being honest as a society, we need now more than ever. If the culture wars of the last 10 years are anything to go by, The right wing all across the West desperately needs history and geography lessons, and if we could get even one Jordan Peterson fan to listen to sociology lectures instead of tirades about how lobsters proved the Soviet Union was evil, then we'd basically be 3 steps removed from utopia. If you've heard me out on this, however, and still want to participate in the soon-to-be diploma mill that will be Peterson Academy, you can go to their website, which is simple but passable. On it, you will find links to their social media accounts, where Jordan Peterson says they're aiming to provide degrees that are 95% less expensive, which I would have thought for someone of his ilk would sound awfully close to socialism, but okay. In the UK, we had free degrees until a few decades ago. They'd even give you a grant, so you get paid for it. It's not like it's not doable. In fact, why not do with the cost altogether if you care about educating people that much? Well, because he doesn't care about that. Diploma mills are for-profit institutions designed to milk as much out of their victims as possible. And by the way Jordan Peterson's been posting recently, it does look like he needs a lot of money to fuel a certain very expensive chemical habit. In fact, Peterson suggests that he wants to drive the price of a bachelor's degree as low as $4,000, which doesn't actually sound that cheap at all, especially for a degree that's not accredited, and one that is entirely online, so the institution won't have to pay for building rents or energy bills or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, I could run a fake university out of this living room if I really wanted to try, but no one would take me seriously. I think if I'd started charging people $4,000 to attend Bridget Empire University, where you just got the bonus content from my Patreon and then I gave you a piece of paper and a picture with a cardboard cutout of Dan, though, people might start to get suspicious that I might be running some sort of scam, and they would be right. Because, to be honest, no one's Patreon is worth $4,000, but it is worth somewhere between $1 and $20 for mine, so please sign up. I actually need the money, and I promise I won't be spending it on attending Peterson Academy, no matter how fucking funny that would be. And it should be clear to all of you by now that this is a scam, but it could also potentially be fraud? Diploma mills have historically been charged for fraud in a load of different countries, if it can be proven that they were misleading people on the worth of their products. Since Peterson is open about this not being accredited, he might get away with this potential charge, but it depends on the country, and I don't know Canadian law. In Australia, for example, it is a criminal offence to call an institution a university without being authorised by the government, and in Bosnia, the word academy can only be applied to accredited institutions. It looks like Canada is the same way, but I'm no expert, so for all I know, he'll set up shop at home, or you can expect him to do what some other diploma mills have done, and officially on the legal sheets at least, base the university in some country in the middle of the Pacific that doesn't have specific legislation on these kind of scams yet. You know, the tax haven method. Like a legitimate business does. It's clear from the Petersons' messaging that they have this pitch that they're going to disrupt the education industry in a very Silicon Valley kind of way, by charging significantly less than legitimate competitors. And to be honest, they are right that the financialized model of the university needs to be destroyed. The obsession with seeing students as customers, with pulling in grants, and means testing researchers and cutting staff to the bone while demanding increasingly more work from each individual employee is absolutely destroying academia and making it a miserable place to work for many. But that's not going to be solved by making some sort of Canadian PragerU but with certificates and less racism. Well, marginally less racism. The solution, instead, to the university sector's problems is bringing the university, the whole idea of it, back into the public domain, taking away any profit motives, putting less pressure on academics by not constantly demanding they produce more and more grants and papers, instead giving them time and space to do the quality work they actually want to do, and making sure people aren't constantly underpaid, understaffed, and terrified of losing their jobs. Do away with student debt, get rid of vice-chancellors and redistribute their ridiculous incomes among the staff that actually make the university work, and so on and so on. None of this will be applied in the for-profit, illegitimate piss take that the Petersons will be selling as a genuine challenge to the current model of the university, starting from November 2023. Oh boy, just in time for Christmas. If you want to get your right-wing uncle a great Christmas present then, you can sign up on petersonacademy.com to be notified of the launch of this obvious scam, university. And if you're... oh, hold on. Interested in lecturing? Apply here. Hold on guys, I have to write a cover letter real quick. So I'm on the Instructor Application page now, and they ask you for your Twitter and Instagram profile, I'm assuming so they can check how right-wing you are before they say yes. At Peterson Academy, we are always on the lookout for passionate and competent lecturers to join our team. We believe that the quality of our courses is dependent on the expertise and enthusiasm of our instructors. If you have a passion for teaching and are an expert in your field, we would love to hear from you. To apply for a teaching position, simply fill out the form provided and we will be in contact to discuss potential opportunities. This is your chance to share your knowledge and expertise with others and make a difference in the lives of our students. join our team of educators, and help us to deliver high-quality courses that empower our students to achieve their goals. I'm actually gagged. I might have to apply. Like, I literally have a PhD. They might reply, but I really don't want to give Jordan Peterson my Twitter handle. Shirley from the Westboro Baptist Church tweeting at me was bad enough, and my Instagram? I don't even go on my Instagram anymore. But he does just ask for a little demonstration on YouTube of a sample lecture, and they actually exist of me online already, like legitimate paleontology lectures, so I could do this. I do need the money. Tell me in the comments if I should sign up or not. I'm genuinely torn. This will be hilarious, but also potentially humiliating. And somehow, in my head, that makes it better and not worse, for some reason. Alternatively, please join my Patreon so I don't have to take that Jordan Peterson money. I really don't want to work for a diploma mill and have to covertly spread my commie propaganda on what will probably be PragerU.ca. The website does say learn from the world's best how to think, not what to think though, which does sound like it doesn't discount dialectical materialism, but I would be teaching paleontology, so that does make it very difficult to do agitprop under Jordan Peterson's nose. Having said all of that though, I don't actually disagree that the university sector is broken. It truly is. As a former academic, when you're inside the system, you can see it struggling to cope with its mistreatment since the dawn of the neoliberal era. The endless financialization, the decline of the idea of learning as a fundamental good rather than something to sell, the abundance of qualified people in a sector with way too few jobs, and frankly, the demand around to make enough jobs for those people who are qualified, who are, to a man, overworked, underpaid, and staying in the sector because they're passionate about it, because they love it. That's what's so heartbreaking to me about this. People come to the university with passion, with hope, with love, with dreams, and people, like me and like many others, watch as that hope is crushed into dust and burned because of the damage done by generations of conservatives who have obliterated any hope for the future in the university and beyond. And meanwhile, abusive professors like my supervisor get promoted to full professor with everyone else congratulating them, while people like me and others get turfed out. We need to bring the hope back into our institutions, not undercut them to feed some conservative propaganda and pocket the change. Not get rid of the one role that keeps the sector from being completely obliterated for good. For all the problems I have with our current neoliberal states, accreditation of universities is a good thing. Trying to smash that last piece of connection many universities have to the public sphere will completely destroy any legitimacy remaining in the structure. It will be the final nail in the coffin of the financialization of the university sector. A final victory for profit, a final victory for greed, over the ideals of a right to an education, of learning as a public good, of the pursuit of knowledge for the betterment of mankind, instead of the profits of a few rich dickheads at the top. I'll leave you with my definitive take on the education sector, which was my frustrated love letter to the dream I used to have of being a scientist, of making it in academia, and how ruin has been brought to it and what we can do about it.
Academia, the sacred breeding ground for ideologies, birthplace of movements of art, philosophy, science, and politics. The ivory tower, where everyone is rational and free-thinking, and yeah, it's not like that. We all know it, right? I love academia. I love being able to conduct my own research. I love the freedom of how to use my time. I love the teaching. I love writing. I love being able to learn about cool shit for a living. I mean, I'm a paleontologist. You don't get much more 3-year-old's dream job than that. I'm unironically still obsessed with dinosaurs, so don't at me. Still, I can't deny that parts of academia, well, almost the whole of academia, is pretty much held together by tiny, increasingly fraying threads. I'm facing part of the problem right now. Coming out of my degree, I paid £6,000 I didn't have to do a master's degree, was unemployed for a year, desperately trying to get a PhD, finished my PhD with my last year completely unpaid, while still expecting to pay for rent, food, and bills, and now I've been employed for another year, applying to every postdoctoral position I can get. Do you know what a career with zero progression over decades, pay so low that at points you literally have to pay to work, and long periods of unemployment with no hope of an escape needs. Extortionate fees for publishing articles, which you need at least 3 of to get a job past PhD level in many cases. The expectation that you'll move cities, if not countries, or continents for every job. Which, by the way, a lot of the time only lasts 6 months to a year before you enter another one of those long periods of unemployment. Needless to say, this kind of environment is really, really bad at retaining anyone who doesn't have a well-off family backing them financially. People wonder why academia has a diversity problem. A lot of the working class in the UK belong to ethnic minorities. If you're working class, it's mind-bogglingly difficult to get a career in academia. The people who manage to break through that barrier are genuinely exceptional. Many queer people are estranged from their family and cut off financially. Men get paid on average more than women and can therefore afford to save up more for when the next long period of unemployment hits. This is a system that loses unfathomable numbers of genuinely talented and passionate people like water through a sieve. And this isn't even in mentioning the fact that people from wealthy families can literally pay to get a PhD, while the rest of us had to apply for countless scholarships until we find one that will take us. And by that time, you're expected to be published, which often requires a big upfront payment. And the cycle goes on. But this isn't a mistake. This is the way the system was built. It's no secret that academia was, until shockingly recently, restricted to upper-class white men. There was no need to accommodate anyone else, because a lot of people had no intention of letting anyone else in. Our current system was not built from scratch with modern sensibilities in mind. It was built on top of a crumbling castle full of old money and vested interests. Although, I do suspect if it were built today, a lot of the same crap would be in place, given the people who end up in charge of many of these establishments. If we want to make academia a more welcoming place, though, a lot needs to change. The very structure of the way academics are employed, published, and treated as a people needs an overhaul. And an overhaul planned by diverse voices, lest we let the sector do what it always does and pat itself on the back for being oh so very progressive, while it actively discriminates against ethnic minorities, disabled people, and the working class. Writer Beware is a resource for authors published by the science fiction and fantasy writers of America, providing a useful guideline of signs that a publisher is looking to scam you or otherwise screw you over. While this is incredibly useful for fiction writers, many of the items that define a dodgy publisher in fiction apply pretty cleanly to academic publishing. While academic publishing and fiction publishing are entirely different worlds, sometimes it's a good idea to step outside your own field and try and look at the state of it objectively. If academic publishing looks like a scam from the outside, maybe we should ask why that is, and more importantly, how that tells us the landscape needs to be changed. 2 particular warning signs from Writer Beware stood up to me as especially relevant to this discussion. First, fee charging. If you've talked about academia to someone who's never taken part in the institution, you might be asked when talking about your latest paper, "Oh, so how much did they pay you for that?" When you explain that not only did you not get paid for it, you paid yourself, perhaps even out of pocket, to publish, you might solicit a raised eyebrow or two. In the literary world, this would be an immediate red flag. Run for your life. You're being scammed. In academia, this is but business as usual. A lot of us believe that open access is the best way forward for public understanding of science. However, if you want to make your paper accessible to all in, let's say, Nature, arguably the most prestigious science journal in the world, you'd end up paying £8,290 or $11,390 just for the privilege. Even the most toxic literary publishers would have a hard time getting anyone to agree to buy into their scheme at that price tag. And this problem goes beyond publishing. PhD tuition costs money, a lot of money, despite technically being a job. Academics that can afford the fee can walk into projects where those less fortunate simply cannot afford the expenditure. Being a PhD a lot of the time requires a master's degree, which requires a bachelor's degree, and even when you have that fabled permanent job, most of the grant money you get to work on new research doesn't even go to you. I'm sorry if it starts to sound like I swallowed Des Capital here, but I find it hard to believe any of this would remain the case if we ran universities and publishers as democratic institutions, instead of trying to force them into profit-seeking models from which they are frankly unsuited. The second writer-we-beware point I found interesting was author-unfriendly contracts. For anyone that doesn't know, in the UK, a PhD is typically funded for 3.5 years, although for mine it was only 3. And most people I know finish by around or a little after 4 years, give or take. Once your funding runs out, you're expected to work full-time on the PhD, paying for rent and food as usual, with no income. In fact, universities can be pretty hostile to people who are in danger of not hitting their deadline. It's not my place to go into the story in specifics, but I know of the pressures disabled people are often put under to finish quickly or quit. PhD supervision and management is not built on a passion, but on getting the number of completed PhDs up so that the university looks like a destination for research. Once you get a postdoc, you're looking at a series of temporary jobs, maybe 6 months, a year, 2 years, each likely at a different university, probably even a different country. I've personally heard several academics claim that moving countries is necessary to show the researcher is serious about the career, just a glimpse at the overwork and rest-shaming culture that's absolutely pervasive in the field. Going back to PhD contracts, paid medical leave is normally not available. Several people I know had to have major surgery during their PhDs, with months needed off for recovery, all unpaid. Other people I know tried to get maternity leave and were snubbed. None of this would be acceptable in most jobs, but since PhDs are considered both students and workers, we get the worst of both worlds. Our passion for our studies is expected to be the only thing on our minds. Never mind that we need to eat, sleep, socialise, exercise, or do anything but work until exhaustion and depression takes us. No wonder 33% of students suffer from major mental health issues such as depression and anxiety. And then even if you break through all of it and get a permanent job, you'll be answering to the REF, the Research Excellence Framework, which is the body that evaluates British universities. And what the REF considers excellence has a pretty oversized impact on the expected research output of academics at these institutions. In the past, this has led to a focus on pumping out lots of small research papers at the expense of larger, longer, and possibly more groundbreaking projects. It should be remembered here that the academics being assessed here are experts in their field, and the people best placed to choose how they carry out the research is, well, likely themselves. Granted, at this point, you've overcome the massive financial barriers, horrible trauma, multiple moves, and all that, but you're not out of the woods yet. For all the people who talk about academia like a wondrous haven, for those with a thirst for knowledge, it treats its workers like society treats workers. In all seriousness, I do think that since this problem is a worker boss problem at its core, as much as that might be obscured by the prestige of the university and the magic surrounding the idea of academia, it has a lot of similar solutions to those faced in other workplaces. Number 1, workplace democracy. If your postdoctoral students are suffering, and the people in charge really think that short-term contracts are the right thing to do, maybe they shouldn't be in charge anymore. Maybe postdocs know better than administrators which contracts would suit them better. Maybe lecturers are better placed to decide how their research should be carried out, structured, rather than the RAF. As for the years of out-of-pocket pay and long periods of unemployment without fixing inequality at the societal level or having a guaranteed safety net, such as introducing a universal basic income or having a benefit system designed to help instead of punish, people would benefit massively from more scholarships, especially for marginalised groups and I might get a bit of hate for this, scrapping fees for graduate programs. No one should be able to pay their way into a PhD when people just as capable are locked out because of lack of money. If we want to improve diversity in academia, and universities claim they do, despite all evidence to the contrary, we can start by getting rid of the way rich people can immediately cut through the hardest parts of the process, leaving academia more rich, more white, and less empathetic to the voices of those that it left behind.
Hello, thank you so much for watching, and especially thank you to all my patrons and those of you who donate to me on either Coffee or PayPal at Bridget Empire, BRIGITTE, EMPI, BRIGITTE, or Catherine Strickson, that's CATHERINESTRICKSON @gmail.com, respectively. I am poor and I would like to be able to pay, and I would like to be, hi guys, I'm poor and I would like to be paid, fuck me. I would love to be able to pay for my groceries by the end of the year with this money, so I don't end up looking more desiccated than Dan. I'm trying to pick up some freelance stuff in the meantime, but that is few and far between. So if you want to help me out, you can always donate to me on Coffee and PayPal, as I just said, or better yet, sign up to my Patreon, where, if you sign up, you can get early access to all my videos, get exclusive content, such as interviews with Rosenkreutz and Princess Weeks and Jessie Gender soon. So that'll be good. Everyone likes Jessie. You get to join the patrons Discord, where we can chat with the nice people there and with me. Get my Nintendo Switch friend code if you want to play me at Smash Bros. Get discounts on any future merchandise, as well as, you know, the honor, the great honor, the incredible honor of having me read your name out at the end of each video. Just like these wonderful people, who you should all model yourselves after. Shield Vaden, Roman Podolsky, Infernal Ramblings, Exploding Turtle, Casual Observer, Terry Roberts, Manta Ray, Courtney Burmack, Sleepy Slug, Philippa Toproga, Soma Piglet, Meredith Matthews, 4IS, Artie Wolf, Hayden Gaylor, Greg Noble, No Kings, Only Fools, Deanna McMillan, Caroline Regalado, Alexandra Lilly, Jay Peterson, Howard Lott, Lara Van Loon, Nerin Nia, Scarjan, and Joey Cobalt. Thank you all for helping me. I really appreciate it. Some of you might know I had to dire financial situation a couple of weeks ago when I was stuck in the UK and I couldn't afford a bus back. And you guys saved my life then, and you continue to. So thank you so much. Onwards and upwards from here. Love you. Then why not come down to...
Judge has been very unfair, has not done a good job. He's been a very bad judge. He's been very unfair, and I will win the Trump University case. I already am, as far as I'm concerned, but I will win the Trump University case.
The judge in
this
that
is
case.
Now, and lo and behold, I have now literally become the Joker. Literally. You might think that I'm overstating the case. Think again, sunshine. We live in a society. This is true at every level of analysis.
That's an awfully hot
Rat